Hey, it's Mythic Mike. We're blasting through the top 50 new cards, just the good ones you need to know about, and my favorite ones from the new Edge of Eternity Standard Legal Set coming out July 29th. We have some bangers. We're going to go color by color, starting with green, which is back, baby. Starting with honestly my favorite card of the whole set, Hemo Sympic Might. And don't worry, there's some other bangers. 1 mana, 1/1, uncommon budget banger. Whenever this creature becomes tapped, another target creature you control gets +X until end turn, where X is the creature's power. This is an ultimate card people have been sleeping on. What this means is if you play combat tricks on this, or if you buff it, it actually like doubles the combat tricks as long as you attack with another creature, right? You put +3/+2 on this, it attacks in, it taps, it buffs another creature the same amount. Even better, there's a lot of tricks with like crewing or with a new spacecraft mechanic where you tap your creatures, where this will then buff your creature while getting other value. And last but not least, harmonized cards break this, specifically Wild Ride. For 2 mana, you can put Wild Ride, just using Wild Ride and this card. You put a creature out, you put Wild Ride on this card, you play it back from the graveyard, tapping Hemo Sympic Might to play it back just for 1, and you put the Wild Ride on your other creature. So for 2 mana, the other creature will have +7/+4 and haste off 1 card. If you don't get it, you will, because we're slotting this into my No Rares Fling deck, which is my top deck. Check it out if you haven't. But don't worry, guys, we're not stopping there. Another card that I think is being slept on, which is going to be sick, we're going to break it day one. Uroboroid, 4 mana plant worm. Whenever you see plant, remember that Insidious Roots buffs plants. So there's always a small chance we can come up with something like that. But this is a 1/3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put X +1/+1 counters on it forever on each creature you control. Each creature where X is this creature's power. So when you put this in, if you have 3 other creatures, you're getting 3 counters the turn it enters. That's with no tricks. That is insane. Now, there's that green Hydra that gets bigger each turn, and then whenever you play another creature, that Hydra puts counters on the new creature. So if we go turn 3 into turn 4, then this will come in 1 bigger, and it will put 2 counters on every creature, and then the Hydra will be bigger, so it'll make things bigger in the future. So there's so many tricks to do, not to mention just ways to buff this card, guys. This is going to be the ultimate win con. Mark my words, baby. Okay, we got Edge Rover. This one has been talked about. It's very cool. 1 mana 2/2, which is not that big of a deal anymore, to be honest. But it is an artifact creature. Robot Scout. Artifact is interesting. Reach is interesting. When this creature dies, each player creates a lander token. Lander token's a new type of token where you pay 2 and sacrifice it. It is an artifact. You pay 2 and sacrifice it, and you put a basic land onto the battlefield. So that's really good for landfall and stuff. Also, the fact this can make 2 artifacts on a decently statted body. I don't even think this is going to go in my No Rares Gruul Fling deck, but I do think it's probably good in green decks, especially if there's any landfall mechanic, and it's an MVP in any artifact deck for sure. Now, the green card that is very busted, although I think people are overhyping this a bit, to be honest with you. So this is pretty cool. 2 mana, beast, 3/2, can't be countered, trample haste, creature spells you control can't be countered, and damage can't be prevented. So that's really good, and it does a lot of stuff, and this is an amazing card. But you do have to remember, like, we have the Gruul 3/2 haste guy, Delirium guy, right? And if when Delirium's hit, he turns into a 4/3 trample, right? So, I mean, it's a similar enough stat line, and people don't even play that in aggro decks. I think this will be good, and it has a lot more abilities, obviously, especially with counter magic, which we'll see. And the trample right away is very good. So I think this is like a must-have, but I don't think it's like game-breaking, as many people think. All right. This is such a cool card. We're going to break it. 1 mana. We have a lot of budget bangers in this set too, guys. So a lot of times, what was the set? Was it Final Fantasy? Was that the one? Or no, the one before? Some of these sets have only had good rares, which is always a bummer. But we have so many good budget bangers in here. This is another one. 1 mana enchantment aura. A lot of the enchantments, including Audacity, I believe, are rotating, so it's good to get some replacements. But when this aura enters, enchanted creature fights up to one target creature an opponent controls. So it is a pseudo removal spell. And enchanted creature gets +3, +0, +2, and can't be blocked by more than one creature. Guys, we put it in a menace deck. This not only fights something, but makes the creature unblockable. Because if you put this on a menace creature, they can't block because they need 2 creatures to block it, but it can't be blocked by more than one. We've already done it, baby. Let's go. This is a cool card. I'm not sure how good it will be, but I think there's a way to break it. 3 mana enchantment. Whenever you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on a creature you control, you may draw that many cards. So if you put 3 counters on a creature, you can draw 3 cards. Do this only once each turn. So that means it's less good if you just have things that get like 1 counter a time, even if all your creatures do it. But it's good if you have spells like there's the otter spell, the adventure blue otter guy, and one side is like pay X and green, pay X and 1 green, and put X counters on something. That turns into draw X cards if this is out, right? And put X counters on it. So I think there's ways to break it. It's a little slow to take turn 3 off, but it could honestly work. Yeah, we're gonna throw this in. 4 mana uncommon budget banger, baby. Vigilance. 3/4. Each creature you control with toughness greater than its power assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Then it also can station permanence, which is the spacecraft mechanic that we will get into. But honestly, I think I have 1 spacecraft on this list because I think it's more of a limited mechanic in my opinion, but we'll see. But the reason this is awesome is there's already a turtle that does the same thing, but there weren't enough, right? If you in green, if you only have 4 creatures that will turn all your 0/5s into 5/5s, that's not enough. But now we have 8 of them. Could put it over the top for that toughness deck. So that would be very sick. This is also interesting. 3 mana, 3/3. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it dies, draw a card. You can make a whole deck of creatures with counters on it, and you could do a sack outlet, or you could just attack in with them, and then if they ever block your creatures, they kind of replace themselves. 3 mana, 3/3 is not awful too, right? This isn't one of those creatures. It's like a 3 mana, 1/3, and then it just has an ability. This can swing in as well. So I think, look, I'm not positive about this one, but I think we're going to give it a try at the very least. My last card in green, I do actually like this one a lot. X and 2, this creature enters with X +1/+1 counters on it. So if you pay 3 mana, it's only a 1/1, which is unfortunate. If you pay 4, it's a 2/2. When this creature leaves the battlefield, put its counters on target creature you control. Well, that's obviously good. The reason why this is, I think, going to be way better than people think is the warp. Warp, so, is a new mechanic where you play it for its warp cost. You can play it for its warp cost first if you want, and then it will just go onto the battlefield for 1 turn, and then at the end of your turn, it will go into an exile zone, and then you can play it normally after. So you can pretty much play it twice, but it's not going to be able to attack unless it has haste, and it pretty much doesn't sacrifice, but it auto goes into exile after. So you get the ETBs, and if you give it haste, you can attack with it. But the reason, and the warp cost is often less. So this means the warp is just put X +1/+1 counters on a creature, right? Because and also if there's any benefit to creatures entering, which sometimes there is, that'd be helpful. But you pay 4 mana, you put 3 creatures on something, or 3 counters on something, then it goes away, and the next turn you pay 4 mana and you get a 2/2. Or it's just another card out there. So you might never even play the normal side. You might just play the warp. But if you run out of cards, you will, right? And I think that's a pretty good benefit. Also, this goes great with this, right? Because if this is out and we play the warp side, then we will draw, X cards as well. So I think there's a lot of cool things in green, guys. I'm super pumped. I'm telling you, this and this are just going to crush it. And this is obviously very good too. All right, on to black, baby. We are going to start with, what are we going to start with? I think we're going to do this one. I like this one. Budget banger, guys. this is going to be the ultimate brewer set for. And when I make budget decks, I don't make budget decks I think are worse than normal decks. I only do it if I think the mechanic is just as strong as rares. And my God, do I think this one is 3 mana human wizard 3/1. Guys, we got decent attack stats on this too, right? When this creature enters, destroy up to one target creature. Unconditional removal. We can kill their stuff. Anything. Atraxa, I think that might be gone. Any creature on their end we can kill. But if that creature wasn't dealt damage this turn, its controller draws 2 cards. So first of all, if we can deal 1 damage to it, like they block with it, we can kill it unconditionally and they don't draw cards. But they draw 2 cards if we just kill it and they haven't blocked. But in the current standard, where card draw is not as good, or at least traditionally, they slowed it down a little bit with the bans, card draw is not that great because unless they have like a ton of sweepers or something, we're just putting things out on the battlefield and then they're drawing cards, but they have limited mana. They can't, what are they going to do? They can't get their cards out anyways. So in the right aggro deck, just killing their stuff with this for pacing will be great. But the other mode of this, by the way, is it says one other target creature. You can kill your own thing and draw 2 cards off this, off a 3/1 body. So, like, look at all the options you have. And again, you have the options. They don't have the options. When they have options like, oh, opponent chooses, that makes it way worse. When we have the options, makes it infinitely better. So, I mean, this is going to be insane. We'll kill like our Forsaken Miner, draw 2 cards, then bring it right back. And then when we're attacking in and they put out their big creature, we'll kill their big creature. This is going to be insane, guys. This is probably one of my top cards. Under the same line of reasoning, this is going to be busted, maybe even in like a Simulacrum synthesizer deck. Or is that the right word? Whatever the 3 the blue mana artifact thing that makes big tokens. You know what I'm talking about when you play artifacts 3 or more. But 3 mana, and you can tap it until the turn, including the turn it enters. Until end of turn, target creature gains. Whenever this creature is dealt damage, you draw that many cards and lose that much life. That creature's controller may have this artifact deal 1 damage to it, activate as a sorcery. So it is sorcery, but you can do 2 things. One, you play this on your own creature, and if they block it, then if they block your creature with a 3/3, you'll draw 3 cards. And if they don't block, we can have this artifact deal 1 damage to our creature so that we draw 1 card regardless. Additionally, you can put this on their creature, and then if they block, you'll be drawing cards based on how much damage you deal to them. So there's a lot of modality, and this is going to draw 1 card a turn, as long as you have a creature, and could draw like a billion cards. And it's hard to remove, and it does trigger artifact things. So very cool. I think it doesn't go in, I don't think it's going to go in mono black aggro. I think this will for sure. We'll see. But I think this is busted in many shells. Guys, we lose cut down, but whatever, man. Tragic trajectory. 1 mana sorcery. Sorcery is unfortunate. Target creature gets -2/-2. Fine. Against aggro. And void. Look at this. Void is so easy to hit. Void is a new thing. It's like you get some special ability. If a non-land permanent left the battlefield, so was exiled or destroyed or bounced, or a spell was warped this turn. Now, this doesn't include things going in your graveyard from your hand, unfortunately, but everything else is going to trigger this void, and then the creature gets -10/-10. So as long as something dies or is exiled or bounced, 1 mana -10/-10. I mean, my God, right? That kills everything. So this is going to be awesome in every black aggro deck. Black aggro, I already have a banger. Check it out if you haven't. But it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. And we got another one. I think this will actually go in it. 2 mana haste. Uncommon again, man. Budget bangers. And it's a warlock, so outlaw. Interesting. You may cast this card from its graveyard using its warped ability. And it's 1 mana, pay 2 life. So, first of all, 2 mana, 2/2 haste that can block is unusual in black, so is already pretty good. And you can just keep bringing it back. So from your graveyard, pay 1, you pay 2 life, it goes on the battlefield, it can attack because it has haste. Then, remember, you exile it, a warped creature at the end of your turn, but then you can play it for its normal cost, so you can bring it back for 2, and then if they kill it, you can keep doing it. Very sick. Also, Insidious Roots, getting things from graveyards easily. So, yeah, very, very cool card. Where is, oh, yeah, I mean, this is busted. This is busted, guys. Sunset Saboteur, 2 mana, 4/1. I'm putting this in every deck I can. Even Rakdos Fling, to be honest with you. It's a human rogue, menace, ward, discard a card. They can't even target it easily. And whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature and opponent controls. I don't care about that. I'll kill their creature, or I'll give them a counter. I don't care. A 4/1 menace that cannot be targeted effectively is worth it. It's not even legendary. What have they done, guys? Mono black is absolutely on the menu. Look at this. 1 mana, equipment, Hyperblade, uncommon again. Equipped creature gets +3/+1, void. So if a non-land permanent left the battlefield or a spell was warped, you can attach the equipment to a creature you control. So as long as something gets removed or whatever, or exiled, this just goes on your creature. And you could play this, right? There's like Sephiroth and things that self-sacrifice your creatures to make it easier to hit. Otherwise, you do have to equip 4, which is pricey, but +3/+1 that can be moved around for no mana. Very cool in the right shell. I'm putting this in. I always hate these cards. This one might be good enough. The green one was terrible. This one might be good enough, but 3 mana so much. Still, 3 mana instant. You choose one, exile target creature or planeswalker, return 1 or 2 target creature and or planeswalker cards from your graveyard to your hand. So that's interesting, right? Or the last mode is the one that might save it. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on a target creature you control. It gains lifelink. Lifelink, big lifelink swing and instant speed is very good. In the fact there's all those modality options again that you can choose might make it good enough. I'm torn on it though. 3 mana is a lot for any of these things. Elegy Acolyte. We'll see about this. I think it has a chance though. We lose Gix, which helps you draw cards, but we get this one. 4 mana, 4/4 lifelink. I think that's what saves it, the lifelink. With no lifelink, this is unplayable. But with lifelink, my god, right? Can you imagine an aggro deck trying to kill you and then you drop this on turn 4 or turn 3 in a green black deck? But whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you draw a card and lose 1 life. It only draws 1 card a turn unless you have like a first strike or double strike guy. Then you could draw 2 because they hit at different zones. Void, if a non-land permanent, it does check at the beginning of your end step, but if a non-land permanent left the battlefield or you warped a card, create a 2/2 robot artifact. So it could, on the turn it entered, be a 4/4 that draws you a card, loses 1 life, and makes it 2/2. Not bad. Again, I think the lifelink is going to make this good, and we're definitely going to give it a try. Look at this thing. I'm not sure if standard, I need to check if standard has anything that can let defender creatures attack. I believe there is, but even without it, 1 mana, 4/1 artifact defender. I mean, like high power lets you crew things, vehicles. It lets you station spacecraft, which we'll get into. It lets you mount stuff. It lets you play harmonized spells back from your graveyard for cheap. You can fling this thing. There's a lot to do with it. So, I mean, this is crazy stat line, even though it has defender. So we're keeping our eye out on this bad boy for sure. Where is my... Oh, did I miss one? 0 Point Ballad. This is really cool. X and 1 black. Destroy all creatures with toughness X or less. You lose X life. If X is 6 or more, return target creature card put into a graveyard this way to the battlefield under your control. So interesting, right? 3 mana, you kill everything with 2 toughness. That does go a long way against certain aggro decks that play like 4/2s and 3/2s and stuff. And you could potentially reanimate one of those things. So it's interesting to know it exists. There is a discard spell that costs 1 if you you look at their hand, you pick a non-land card from it, and it costs 3 normally, and it costs 1 if you voided if a non-land permanent left. I didn't put it in though. I don't think it's gonna be that great, to be honest with you, but it's close. We'll see. All right, now on to red, guys. We got a lot of cool things. So this is a 5 mana Flying Haste Dragon. Whenever this creature enters, it deals 1 damage to target creature an opponent controls. That's not bad. But even better, it has a warp cost. So for 3 mana, you get a 4/5 Flying Haste that deals 1 damage to a creature. There are a lot of 1 toughness creatures. So 3 mana for pretty much 4 damage, right? Unless they can block a Flying Haste thing and dealing damage. And then you can play it back for 5 later. I mean, and remember, dragons can be made cheaper. We have things that make dragons cheaper, or you get benefits for playing dragons. So very, very cool. Rust Harvester. This is an MVP, guys, an absolute MVP. Artifact creature robot. Menace 1/1. But look at this. 2 mana and tap it. Exile an artifact card from your graveyard. Put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Then it deals damage equal to its power to any target. So the first time you do it, it does 2 damage to their face or to a creature. Next time you do it, it does 3 damage to anything. And you could just buff this too. Like if you put some kind of buff spell on it, it deals damage equal to its power. This is insane. This is insane. It's not that hard to get artifacts in your graveyard, right? So, I mean, this is absolutely standard playable, and people are going to break it. Not to mention, you can use Agatha's Soul Cauldron to get the ability. Ooh, I'm a little worried about it. We'll see how it goes. But interesting. Very good card. Weft Strike Ardent. This one's close. 3 mana. Budget banger. My God. 2/3. Whenever another creature or artifact enters, not as cast. It's so easy to make artifacts. This creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. So if you play like the blue guy that makes a map token for 1, that's a creature and a map token, so this does 2 damage, right? So you can see how that can get out of control quickly. Also, it has this warp ability where it comes in just for 1 turn. You can play other things and still get the damage, and then it will go back to your hand, and then you can play it for 3 later. Also, this is not legendary. So if you have one of these down, you could like warp in other copies of it to still get the triggers. There's a lot of cool stuff to do. Pain for All. I had to throw this in here. This is very interesting. I'm not sure it's good enough, but 3 mana aura. Enchant creature you control. When this aura enters, enchanted creature deals damage equal to its power to any target. We're losing Cacophony Scamp, and the mouse was banned that did this. So we still have the 3 mana red guy that does this, whatever its name is, Screaming Nemesis. And then additionally, whenever enchanted creature is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to each opponent. So then it turns it into a Screaming Nemesis. So this is a lot of value. The problem is it's 3 mana and they could blow it out. But, right, if you do it in the right ward type of deck, I think we can make this work. We will definitely try. Terrapract Intimidator, pretty good. Pretty good. People love this card more than me, but 2 mana, 2/1. Whenever this creature enters, target opponent may have you create 2 lander tokens. Again, those are tokens you can pop for 2 to get a land onto the battlefield tapped. If they don't, put 2 +1/+1 counters on this creature. So it's either a 2 mana 2/1 that makes 2 lander tokens, which are artifacts, or it's a 2 mana 4/3. Both are pretty good. The problem is the optionality is given in the opponent's hand, so they'll pick the one that's better for them, which always makes it worse, but still worth considering in, I'd say, an artifact deck, because then or potentially a landfall deck, but mostly an artifact deck, because then, worst case, it will be a 4/3, right? Which is still overstated. Because they're not going to want to give you the artifacts in your artifact deck. All right, our first spacecraft. Again, they have a ton, and some of them are really big, but I think these are kind of trash, so I'm just not including them. Maybe I'll be wrong. 3 mana artifact spacecraft. It's kind of like a vehicle. It comes out, and it's just an artifact sitting there. And then it can be a 4/3 flying, but in order to get it crewed or stationed is what they call it, you need to tap 6+ power of creatures, but you can do it over multiple turns, so you don't need to crew it that turn. And then whenever you hit the 6+ power of creatures, it gets like charge counters on it when you tap a creature. Then it becomes a 4/3 flying forever, and they have VTPs. Now these are easier to station than you think, because you can station the turn you play a creature. So the first turn you play a creature, unless you're blocking with it, there's no benefit to it remaining untapped. It can't tap in. So you can always tap with that creature to use it even on its summoning sickness turn, which will make this, which makes spacecrafts better than a lot of people think. Still, standard, even after bans, is pretty fast. So I'm not sure. Now, this is a 3 mana artifact, goes with the synthesizer in blue, right? To make more artifact tokens. I do think the red-blue version, the Izzet version, is going to be the best version now. And when this enters, it deals damage equal to the number of artifacts you control the target creature and opponent controls. So in the synthesizer deck, you could deal like easily 3 damage on the turn you play this, kill something, definitely 2 damage, and then pretty easily turn it into a creature, and it triggers your synthesizer. So I do think there is something here with this one for sure. Let's see. Last one in red, Possibility Technician. I'm excited for this card. 3 mana, 3/3. Again, thank God it's not legendary, right? The last set, Final Fantasy, everything was legendary. I guess partly for Commander, but it ruins aggro decks and just constructed standard, because usually, unless you're playing legendary deck, you want to play 4 ofs and get consistency, right? So we can do that here. 3 mana, 3/3. Whenever this creature or another Kavu you control enters, like this is a Kavu, just so there are other Kavu. Exile the top card of your library. For as long as that card remains exiled, you may play it if you control a Kavu. So even if they kill this, if you play another Kavu, you can still play the card. And also you can warp. The warp here, unless you give it haste, more or less just lets you look at a card. But that means this thing's drawing multiple cards. And again, if you have this out and you play another Kavu, then you'll get to look at another card. And if you play another one of this, you'll get to look at another 2 cards. And you remember, you can warp them in, and you like a Kavu enters if you, yeah, it's, I'm not explaining it perfectly. The point is, if you have like 4 of these and you play one and then you warp another one, now you're drawing multiple cards and you play, but you're going to look at so many cards. This is going to be insane, guys. We're breaking it. I'm pumped. I am pumped. All right. We are on to blue. And by the way, blue has some of the coolest cards this time. I'm so pumped. Guys, this is cool. People don't understand. 2 mana, 0/4, Robot Soldier. This creature gets +X/+O, where X is the greatest mana value among other artifacts you control. I know that there's already the blue-white version that's kind of better than this, but I think that one's legendary, and we can just add this in. I think it's very cool because it's such a good blocker, and like it's not hard to get a 3, right? Once you get a 3 mana value artifact, it's a 2 mana 3/4, and once, which is the next turn probably, and like you can easily get really high mana value things, right? Because there's affinity for artifacts. So when we play those cheap, like the 7 mana guy that really costs 2 or something because we have so many artifacts out, now this will be a 7/4. So it just goes in our affinity for artifact deck. We win. We have 2 mana 7/4s. Easy peasy. They've really done, where is the other one that I wanted to show? Oh, this too. This is not an artifact, but 5 mana 4/4, but it only costs 2. It costs 3 less if you cast another spell this turn. It's not that hard to orchestrate in these type of things. And then a 2 mana 4/4 is sick. Remember, it has 5 mana, so that will not trigger Beanstalk because Beanstalk is no longer standard legal. But there are other benefits to that, such as this is high mana. Well, I guess it won't work for that one, but there is the 3 mana green vehicle, which if a creature has 5 or more mana, it comes in with 3 +1/+1 counters. There's other benefits to having high mana value creatures cheated in for cheap, and this will trigger those. Code Cracker Hound. I think this is better than everyone thinks. 3 mana 2/1. When it enters, look at 2 cards. Put 1 in your hand and 1 in the graveyard. So it's a 3 mana 2/1 that draws and puts something in your graveyard and gives you card selection. So it's surveil, like that's already good. And you can warp it. It is for the same amount, but just pretty much to get the card draw effect, which you will do sometimes. This enables Reanimator, graveyard strategies. It's also just like a decent value piece. I'm pumped about this card, guys. Star Winder. 7 mana Leviathan. Interesting, right? Leviathan's relevant in some things. 7/7 and warp it for 4, right? And then it goes away and you have to play it back for 7. But whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw that many cards. What that means is if you play like a 1 mana 2/1 and then a 2 mana 3/3 and you attack in and you play this on turn, and let's say you only have a 3/3 and a 2/1 out, and then you warp this, and they don't block them, you draw 5 cards. Because it's not just when they hit, it's you deal, yeah, however much damage your creatures deal, you draw that many cards. That's pretty insane. That's a lot of card draw. And the fact it can come back late in the game as a 7/7 that still does it, I think very, very sick, guys. This one's a control thing. I'm just letting you know it exists. 2 mana. You look at the top X of your cards, where X is the number of lands you control, so you can probably look at like 4 or 5. Put one of those cards in your hand. If it was kicked for 2 more, you put 2 in. It's a big. This is the new control card draw spell, so I won't be playing it probably, but let's see. Put one of those cards in your hand. Yeah, it's not even. I like eidetic memory, but this doesn't even count as card draw. So yeah, this is gonna be annoying, but is what it is, man. All right. 2 mana instant. This is interesting. This spell costs 1 last to cast during your turn. Tap target artifact or creature. Draw a card. 1 mana, tap their biggest thing, draw a card, especially in a double spell deck like this. Very interesting. Also, sometimes tapping your own things makes sense. Interesting, right? All right, Quantum Riddler. 5 mana, Sphinx, flying. When this creature enters, draw a card. As long as you have 1 or fewer cards in your hand, if you would draw 1 or more cards, you draw that many cards plus 1 instead. And warp 2. So you draw the card. What's interesting is even when you warp it, but either whenever you play it, you actually draw 2 cards if you have 1 or fewer cards. So if you play this in an aggro deck, play all your cards out, play it for 2 on warp, and you have 1 card left, then or 0 cards, you will draw 2 for 2, and then you still have this thing to play back for 5 later. Yeah, I mean that's doable, especially in eidetic memory or something else. And then once this is out, I mean, yeah, we'll be drawing cards like it's our job, baby. Then last but oh no, not in the last, we have 2 more in blue. This is a spacecraft. It's another good one. I think the cheap spacecrafts are best. I do think the expensive ones, even if they're big creatures, are just not good. But we'll see. 1 mana artifact spacecraft. I do like that they're not legendary, though, or at least these ones aren't. 9+ to make it a 4/4 flying vigilance. You'll do that sometimes, but it's not the main goal here. The main goal here is the 2+. So as long as you tap a 2-power creature, it will get this ability forever. At the beginning of combat on your turn, 1 target artifact you control becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness 2/2 and gains flying until end of turn. First of all, base power means all the counters stack on top of it. The fact that it has flying, so you can just turn your little map tokens into 2/2 flyers every turn. It's just till end of turn, but still you get some damage. You can turn artifact things with counters on it, give them flying. You can give your simulacrum synthesizer tokens flying and +2/+2 to get through, or whatever the synthesizer thing's called. So, yeah, it's interesting. I think this will be good. Last but not least, this goes in the double spell deck alongside these 2. Guys, we're going to have a sick artifact, I mean, not artifact, blue double spell deck. Probably red in there too, right? 3, but it's going to be very different than like the cutter deck. This one seems way cooler because you can do big boys. Look at this, 3 mana, 2/4. Decently statted, uncommon, not legendary. What have they done? This is my dream set. The second spell you cast each turn costs 2 less. So the turn you play this, you can play another 3-drop for 1 more. And if you play this, and then the next turn you play a 1-drop, you can play a 4-drop for 2. You can get some crazy mana saving here. And again, a 2/4 is fine. I mean, that blocks, it can do kind of damage. So they're brewing here, baby. They are brewing here. All right, we got white and multicolored. White has some bangers, guys. We did lose a lot of the soldier lords and a human lord, so that is unfortunate. But don't worry, guys, because we have some cool stuff coming. Oh, where'd it go? Another human soldier. We'll still have some human soldier shenanigans going on. 3 mana, 2/4 whenever you cast your second spell. So maybe it's the blue-white. Maybe it's blue-white, the double spell deck. Choose 1. Create 2 1/1 human soldier tokens. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So it goes wide until you want to go tall. What could be better? And it's a 2/4. These stat lines are way better. Like, I'm so glad they've gotten away from making 1/3s, right? Often this would be like a 1/3 or 1/4, probably like 1/3, and it would have these things, and it would just be no good. 2/4 is good enough. We got Lights Stall Inquisitor, 1 mana, not legendary. Yes, yes, I'm gonna say it every time. 2/1, it's an angel. Angel deck with a 1 mana angel. What the heck? Vigilance. Whenever this creature enters, each opponent exiles a card from their hand and may play that card for as long as it remains exiled. Each spell cast this way costs 1 more to cast. Each land this way enters tapped. So the opponent gets to pick, right? But one of their cards is slightly harder to play. On a 1 mana 2/1 Vigilance Angel that's not legendary, I am not complaining. That looks very, very nice. All Fate Stalker. I am putting this in. This one's close, right? It depends on the meta. But this is 4 mana. When this enters, exile target non-assassin creature until this creature leaves the battlefield. 2/3. But, so first of all, you can just kill their stuff, right? I mean, they can get it back by killing this. But it has Warp. Warp, remember, your creature leaves at the end and gets exiled at the end of your turn, and then you can play back for the full mana value on a later turn. What this means, for 2 mana, you can kill any token, because when you exile it, they don't get it back. You can just, for 1 turn, get rid of a blocker, or you can do an ETB, double an ETB of one of your own creatures, right? Or blink one of your own creatures, right? We're losing the prototype black guy, but there are other things that are nice to blink. So this can blink your own thing, pseudo removal, and you can do the effect twice. Interesting. Interesting. I will say that. All right, we got a Stelly Reclaimer. This one's interesting too. 5 mana, Angel Warrior, 5/4 flying, Warp 3, so you can do the ability twice, right? Once for 3. When this creature enters, return target non-creature, non-land permanent card. So it's a non-creature, non-land permanent. It includes Corpses of the Lost, my favorite black card, with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast this creature. So if you warp it, you can bring back Corpses or any 3-drop or less. And then when you play it back later for 5, you can bring any 5-drop. Now, it needs to be in the right deck where you have enough non-creature, non-land. It can't be a creature is the big thing. But still, yeah, I think we'll be able to make this work. We're going to give it a try. Unfortunately, we got a temporary lockdown that's better than temporary lockdown. It doesn't exile enchantments, but when this artifact enters, exile all artifacts and creatures with mana value 2 or less until this artifact leaves the battlefield. Bummer. It is an artifact. What that means is black cannot kill it anymore. I don't think black can kill artifacts. It can kill enchantments. Shoot. We can't. There are other things to kill artifacts, though, so that's fine. Then it has this 8 ability, like late game, which makes a bunch of 2/2s. Why does this card exist? Similarly, they made Sunfall that doesn't give you an incubate token, but 5 mana, exile all creatures and spacecraft. If spacecraft are good, it'll be slightly better than Sunfall. Otherwise, it'll be worse than Sunfall, but it's still annoying because it exiles everything. So, bummer. We'll get that out the way. But whatever. I've been in Sunfall lockdown meta forever. I can deal with it. We got this bad boy. There's so many cool cards. 3 mana, legendary creature, Boo, human soldier, yay. 3/3, when this or another creature or artifact enters, the fact they add artifacts, very sick again. You gain a life. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card if you gain 3 or more life. So this could go in some kind of lifeline deck. Or even not, it could just draw cards and gain you life. It's just based on normal play. And also you can warp it for 1. Not bad. Say that. Hard Light Containment, 1 mana, enchant artifact you control. So we are going to have to kill artifacts. When this aura enters, exile target creature and opponent controls until this aura leaves the battlefield. Enchanted permanent has ward 1. So our artifact has ward 1, and we exile something just for 1. That's really good. We do need to play it in a deck that wants enchantments and artifacts. Kind of weird, but very efficient removal for sure. All right, the last white card we're going to look at. I'm super pumped about this card in an aggro shell. 2 mana, 3/2. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more tapped creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and then 2, remove a +1/+1 counter from a creature, tap target creature or artifact, tap target artifact or creature. So usually it's the first mode. The last mode can remove a blocker, especially a big lifelink blocker, which aggro hates. But realistically, a 2 mana 3/2, especially we might be able to do some kind of human deck, but a 2 mana 3/2 that is growing your things each turn as long as you attack. So, right, you play a bunch of like 1-drops. You'll attacking with both, with all your 1-drops. Hopefully you still have 2 alive at the end so that you have 2 tapped creatures, which is what you wanted to do in your aggro shell anyways. Then the turn this enters, this puts a counter on something. It's a 3/2 growing your... I mean, these stat lines are not bad. So I'm going to give that a try for sure. Now on to multicolored and colorless. We've got some cool cards here. Look at this, by the way. When this creature enters mill 3 cards, this is going Insidious Roots, right? But then also, usually that's kind of like all it is, but then or there's like a upside that's minor, but this upside is 5 mana, sacrifice this creature, return target creature or spacecraft from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it's just a reanimator that also got you your reanimator and also could block. So, and it's an uncommon non-legendary creature. What the heck, man? Seer of Autumn, this is cool too. 2 mana, legendary boo, human knight, yay. Cecil's a human knight. Maybe we'll get some things going there. 2/2, Vigilance Menace. Whenever another creature you control dies or is put into exile, put a +1/+1 counter on this, and you gain a life. And when this dies or is put into exile while its power is 4 or greater, so if you grew it some way, including its own abilities, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. God, I mean, this is one of the most busted cards, right? You have to do it in the right shell, but it's completely standard playable, and we will be playing it. I like all these little insects, huh? So this is Gruul, Insect Scientist. It's interesting that this one's uncommon and this one's rare, right? But whatever. When this enters, create a lander token. For your landfall decks, it's also an artifact. Whenever you sacrifice an artifact, this creature deals 2 damage to target opponent, including when you pop your lander token. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some way to make a bunch of artifacts and then sacrifice them. And this deals 2 damage over and over again. You can have multiples of these. So yeah, this is something. Yeah, I mean, these insect things are so cool, right? This is Simic for 2, flying, 1/3, and I love that they're not legendary again. Thank God we're getting away from that, where everything with abilities is legendary, so you can't play it normally. So it's a 1/3 flying for 2, which is like fine. But whenever a land enters, target creature has base power and toughness 3/3 until end of turn. If you control 6 or more lands, that creature has base power and toughness 6/6. So this can be a 3/3 flying every turn for 2. If you play 1 land, if you play 2 lands, you can be buffing 2 creatures. Additionally, you can play this in a deck with a lot of +1/+1 counter creatures, and then the counter stack on top of the base power. So there'll be ways to break this, and we will definitely give it a try. I don't like this card myself, but just so you guys know it exists, 4 mana, target player mills cards equal to your life total. So if your life's 20, they mill 20. So they could like have a life gain deck where they gain a bunch of life and try to mill you out. It is interesting, right? Double triggers and stuff. So yeah, there might be something mill oriented. Pinnacle Emissary. This goes in the synthesizer deck. 3 mana. And again, this is why the red blue synthesizer is going to be best. 3 mana artifact creature robot. 3/3. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 drone artifact creature token with flying that cannot block. These little drones come up in a lot of cards. And warp just for 1, which again counts as an artifact and creature entering. So you can just play it for 1 and then play a couple other artifacts, make some drones. Whenever this comes into play, including for the warp 1, I believe synthesizer is triggered, right? Because it's still a 3-drop coming in. That's an artifact. This makes multiple artifacts. I mean, my God, do you want a better card in your artifact deck? It is broken. All right, Station Monitor. This is interesting. White and a blue, not legendary budget banger. Yes, baby. 2/2 whenever you cast your second spell each turn. So again, maybe it is blue-white, the double spell deck now. With that soldier guy too, it's going to be pretty sick. Create one of these 1/1 drones. They are artifacts and flyers. You can kind of go wide on this. I think it's very cool. And yeah, we're definitely going to give it a try. On to colorless and lands. This is like a weird card, but it's good. We got Eldrazi, baby. Again, even the Eldrazi are not legendary. Thank God. So warp 4 or pay 6 for normal, right? And again, you can do the warp, and then the next turn you can pay the 6 to get it to enter twice. And when it comes in for the 6, it stays out forever. It's a 7/5. When this creature leaves the battlefield, including after it's warped, draw a card. Then you may put a permanent with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. So it kind of pays for itself, right? Which is pretty cool. And draws a card. So it pretty much gets something from your hand for around the same mana value that you paid for it, and draws a card. I mean, not bad, right? You can see how there's a play pattern with this. Dauntless Scrap Boot. I think this is better than a lot of people think. 3 mana, 3/1, artifact creature, robot, uncommon. When it enters, exile target player's opponent's graveyard. Very important in some decks. And create a lander token. So you get 2 artifacts off this. And it's a 3/1. And it's complete graveyard hate. Yeah, in the artifact shell, if there's any graveyard decks in standard, this will make sense to play a lot of the time. The Endstone, we'll see if this is good enough, but it could get broken, right, in these colorless decks with Ugin and stuff. So 7 legendary artifact. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell, draw a card. Like everything you're doing, you draw like cards now. So you play a land, draw a card. You cast a spell, draw a card. You play another spell, draw a card. Awesome. At the beginning of your end step, your life total becomes half of your starting life total, rounded up. The problem is, if they get this out late and they're down to 2 life, now they're going to have 10 life every turn, and you can never kill them unless you do 10 damage in a turn, and they're drawing infinite cards. So this kind of reads like if they get to 7 mana, they win. Unless you have a really big next turn that can deal 10 damage. I'm worried about this card, guys. People thinking like only like Commander and things are older formats, but I think in standard this could be an issue. Virulent Silencer, this is pretty cool. We do lose some of the toxic people, like the Phyrexians, right? But we still have some of our Death Touch things and poison things. 3 mana, 2/3. Whenever a non-token artifact creature you control deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. If they get 10, they die. I mean, that's pretty cool. You can go wide with artifacts and kill them in like half the speed, right? You could also maybe put other poison mechanics in your deck. Yeah, I bet we're going to give this a try for sure. So this is actually interesting. Another spacecraft. You can see the type of spacecraft I like are the cheap ones. 2 mana. When it enters, surveil 2. So at least you have an artifact out there and you surveil 2 for 2 mana. And then when you tap 4 power of creatures, even over multiple turns, it becomes a 2/2 flyer. Like, these are the type I'm like, maybe we can do something with, right? Especially when tapping things sometimes is a benefit, right? Remember, we still do have all those creatures. I forget what it's called, but when you tap them, they get, when they become tapped, you get some benefit. And is it Survivor? Yeah. So, there might be ways to kind of pair cheap spacecraft with that to do something. Also in self-mill decks, this could potentially do something. Our last planeswalker, our planeswalker in this deck is Tezzeret, 3 mana, which is nice, 4 loyalty. Whenever an artifact enters, put a loyalty counter, which is huge, right? You can get this huge. And then 0, untap an artifact or creature. If it's an artifact creature, put a +1/+1 counter on it. -3 is search your library for an artifact card with mana value 1 or less, reveal it, put it into your hand. It's not bad at all. -7, which again you can get to when you play artifacts because you're increasing the loyalty. You get an emblem with, at the beginning of your combat on your turn, put 3 +1/+1 counters on target artifact creature control. If it's not a creature, it becomes a 0/0 robot artifact. So you can turn non-creature artifacts into 3/3s. I think this is underrated. I think this is going to be very good in certain artifact decks. I mean, it's so much value, right? And you can make the loyalty so big on this thing. It's going to be sick. Last but not least, lands. We got for... Oh, what happened to you? Oh, there it is. We got for some of the color combos, including Gruul, which is good for me in my my fling type Gruul decks. But we got these shock lands, which are sick. They're sick because not only they can come in untapped if you pay 2 life, and then when you tap them, you don't have to pay life anymore. So they're better than the land, like in many ways, than the lands that you tap, and it deals 1 damage to you. And also remember, if you don't need it to be untapped, you just don't pay the 2 life. Also, it counts as plain, swamp, forest, right? So it counts as those land types, which matter sometimes. We also got some of these things like tapped lands that do things. This one's very cool. There's a black one that's fine too, but we'll just show this one for now. It enters tapped, but you have to like station first, and that makes it hard, like 12 station, good luck. But just to show that these exist, when you do station this, then you can pay 2, sacrifice it to create a 2/2 robot artifact, and creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste on a turn. So that thing will be a 3/2 haste. So it's kind of cool. You have a land that eventually becomes a win con. And remember, you can, the turn creatures enter that they couldn't attack anyways, you can use it to station. So it's not like stationing just is completely negative, especially when you don't need to block or don't want to block against like a control deck. So interesting. Interesting, right? All I know, guys, I am super pumped. We're putting this in my no rares fling deck and popping off, guys. Mono green. I'm most excited for this card. Let me know in the comments what you're most excited for. We're going to break standard. Like and subscribe. Early access soon. Pop that like button. Let's go, baby. Smashing. Let's go.